Hello, my dear children. A very warm good day to all of you. Today we are going to learn lesson number 8 from your Gulmohar reader book. The topic is the grey stone. This story is by Alison Utley. Children, Alison Utley was a science teacher. She wrote more than 100 books. I know, children, you all love animal stories. She was very fond of children. So, most of her books are for children and about animals. Children, today we will read about a little girl whose name was Amanta and a grey stone who found its way to the little girl's house and got a name and took the place inside the house. Children, in this story, the stone personified. That means it is given human qualities like feelings, thinking, and talking. Children, in this slide, you can see beautiful shining stones. Do you know, children, there are some stones like these are fossils. Do you know what are fossils? Fossils are the preserved remains or traces of animals or plants that were once lived. Children, these fossils show us how the animals or plants used to look like and where they lived. Children, in the story, the grey stone is also a fossil. So children, let us start the lesson with word meanings that you will come across in the lesson. This will help you to understand the lesson better. Children, in this slide you can see the pictures of high rocks. These high rocks are called cliffs. What is the meaning of cliff? A high rock like a wall near the sea. Prop the door open. Place something against the door to keep it open. What's the meaning of prop the door open? Place something against the door to keep it open. Here you can see a chair is placed against the door to keep it open. In this picture, a stone is placed against the door to keep it open. Fine means beautiful. What's the meaning of fine? Beautiful. Watching the sights means watching everything that was happening around it. What is the meaning of watching the sights? Watching everything that was happening around it. Roadman, a person who makes or repairs roads. Who is called a roadman? A person who makes or repairs roads. Now we will read the lesson. Lesson number 8, The Grey Stone by Alison Utley. One fine day, little Amanda brings a grey stone home, kicking it all the way from the school gate. She kicks it till the doorstep and goes in to tell her mother about school that day. Here you can see the picture of Amanda. She is kicking the stone to her house. So children, one day this little girl Amanda was returning back from school. She saw a small grey stone that was lying on the road. She started kicking that stone the entire way until it reached the doorstep of her house. Then she left the stone there and went inside the house to tell her mother about what had happened in the school that day. Now let us move to next lines. The stone lay by the doormat and stared around, For years, it had been lying in the roads, kicked here and there. It had been broken off a cliff by a roadman. So, children, for several years, this stone was lying on the road, and passers-by were kicking it from one place to another. But now it reached doorstep of Aminda's house. It's a new place for it. So it started looking around. Children, this stone had been broken off a high rock by a roadman. Now let us move to next lines. The stone had wanted to go to school or to see the inside of a house, but the doors were always shut. It had never been as close to a door as this. Now the stone was lying outside of the house. It had wanted to go to a school or to see inside of a house because it had never been inside of a house before. But the doors were always shut. Now let us move to next lines. Prop the door open, Aminta, said a voice. Aminta stepped outside, picked up the stone and put it inside the house against the door. The stone was actually inside the house. This is real life, it thought. Children, the stone heard a voice asking Aminta to open the door and keep the door opened by placing something against it. So, what Aminta did? Aminta went outside and picked up that grey stone and placed it against the door. Now, the grey stone was inside the house. It thought it was real life. You can see the picture of Aminta and how she placed the stone against the door. Now, let us move to next lines. It pushed hard and kept the door open while Aminta's mother went out and soon returned with a pile of clothes. Then someone closed the door and it was safe inside. Children, the stone worked hard to keep the door opened. Then Aminta's mother went outside of the house and soon returned with a pile of clothes. Then someone closed the door. Now the stone was inside the house and it was safe there. Before moving to next lines, we will learn some more word meanings. Scampering, running with small quick steps. What's the meaning of scampering? Running with small quick steps. You can see the mice running with small quick steps. Comfort, peace and quiet. What's the meaning of comfort? Peace and quiet. Disguise yourself. Change the way you look so that nobody knows who or what you are. What's the meaning of disguise yourself? Change the way you look so that nobody knows who or what you are. Children, you can see the pictures here. You can see how this man changed his looks by changing his hairstyle and dressing. You can see here how this boy is looking like a girl by changing his hairstyle. Now, let us move to next. Suggested, gave the stone an idea. Suggested means giving an idea. Velvet, a kind of thick, soft cloth. What's the meaning of velvet? A kind of thick, soft cloth. Grunting, making a short low sound. What's the meaning of grunting? Making a short, low sound. Now, let us move to next lines. It sat in a corner, listening to the sounds and watching the sights inside the house. It watched the cat and the dog and the baby in the cradle. When everyone had gone to sleep and the lights were put out, it listened to the voices which are heard only in the night. Children, the stone was new to the house, so it sat in a corner of the house. It was listening to the sounds and watching everything that was inside the house. When everyone went to sleep and the lights were turned off, he heard some various noises. Now let us move to next lines. It listened to the mice scampering, the grandfather clock going tick-tock, the table grunting and the chairs squeaking. They will throw you out, cried the voices. But I don't want to go, replied the stone. I have been waiting for this for thousands of years, and I want a little comfort in my old age. What shall I do? Disguise yourself, they suggested. Children, the stone heard various noises like running sound of mice, tick-tock of grandfather's clock, low sound of table, and the squeaking of the chair. The stone heard everyone was saying that it will be thrown out of the house. It replied to them that it doesn't want to go out, as it had been waiting to be inside a house for thousands of years. As it was in old age, it wanted a peaceful rest. So the voices suggested it to disguise itself. Now let us move to next lines. So the mice dragged Amanda's velvet cap and pulled it over the top of the stone. The scarf fell down from behind the door and wrapped itself around the stone. Amanda's boots moved in front of it. Children, mice helped it by dragging Amanda's velvet cap over the top of the stone. The scarf fell down and wrapped itself around the stone, and Amanda's boots moved in front of the stone to hide it. Now let us move to next lines. All day and night the stone hid them. The next morning a broom dragged it into the light. What's the stone doing here? Asked Amanda's mother. Children, the stone was hiding all that day and night. The scarf, the velvet cap and the boots helped it to hide. But the next morning, when Amanda's mother was sweeping the house, it saw the stone and asked about it. Before moving to next lines, we will learn some more word meanings. Exclaimed, said loudly and suddenly. What's the meaning of exclaimed? Said loudly and suddenly. About to fling it out. Was going to throw it away. What's the meaning of about to fling it out? Was going to throw it away. Changed his mind. Decided not to throw the stone away. What's the meaning of changed his mind? Decided not to throw the stone away. Examined, looked carefully. What's the meaning of examined? Looked carefully. Chipped off, broke into small pieces. What's the meaning of chipped off? Broke into small pieces. Chipped off, broke into small pieces. What's the meaning of chipped off? Broke into small pieces. Fossil, a part of a plant or an animal that lived thousands of years ago and which has got pressed into a rock. Fossil, a part of a plant or an animal that lived thousands of years ago and which has got pressed into a rock. You can see the pictures of fossils here. Fern, a plant with leaves like feathers and no flowers. What's the meaning of fern? A plant with leaves like feathers and no flowers. Mantelpiece, a shelf on top of the place where a fire is lit in a room. Mantelpiece, a shelf on top of the place where a fire is lit in a room. Now let us move to next lines. It's the doorstop, exclaimed Amanta, remembering. How proud the stone felt. It was the first time it had a name. Amanda's father picked up the stone. He was about to fling it out. Then he changed his mind. When Amanda replied her mother that it is a doorstop, the stone felt very proud that he got a name for the first time. Earlier, nobody noticed him. Amanda's father picked up the stone and he was going to throw it away. Then suddenly he changed his mind. Let us move to next lines. He examined the stone. He gave it a tap with a hammer. A few pieces of the stone chipped off. Children, Amanda's father carefully looked at the stone. Then he hit with a hammer and it broken into small pieces. Now let us move to next lines. What are you doing, father? Asked Amanda, and she stared up at him. See here, he said, this is a fossil. Inside the stone was a fern, perfect and beautiful. The tiny leaves were as clear as if they had been pressed into the stone that same day. Children, Amanda was observing everything what her father was doing. When she asked her father about it, he showed it and told her that it is a fossil. That stone was a part of a plant that lived thousands of years ago and was pressed into that stone. They saw a beautiful fern plant's leaves inside the stone. It was looking very clear as if it had been pressed into the same day. Now let us move to next lines. The place for this is on the mantelpiece, said Amanda's father. So they placed the stone there. Every time a visitor came home, it was taken down and shown to them in all its beauty. Children, Amanda's father was very excited and became very happy because he got a precious thing. So he decided to keep it on the top of the mantelpiece. Children, whenever someone visited their house, They used to show them its beauty. Thus, finally, the stone find a place for itself. I hope, children, you have loved and enjoyed this story. Now, there is a small homework for you. 1. Read the lesson carefully. Second, learn and write difficult words. Third, learn and write word meanings in your notebook. We will meet you soon with the second part of this lesson.